Hey guys, Unseen here, and I'm bringing you guys a Pokemon X and Y Wi-Fi battle against PKWarbird. His YouTube channel will be linked in the description below, so go check that out if you'd like. To this battle, I brought a Choice Spec Cyan Mega, because it can do a lot of damage. It has tinted lens on it. I have my physically defensive Gourgeist. I have my Choice Banded Arcanine, which is my favorite Pokemon ever. Arcanine, just the best. I brought a Mega Banette, which is probably one of my most favorite megas to use competitively. I have my custom-made Reggie Ice Assault Vest that got removed from my Y2 since Bank came out. Next, I have my Life Orb Porygon-Z. My opponent is bringing a Lucario, which I'm assuming is Mega. And seeing from his team, I was assuming it's special. Looking at the team, he doesn't have many special attackers. He probably has the standard Assault Vest Conkeldurr. His Mew most likely is defensive, since I don't see many defensive threats on his team. His Kyurem, I actually don't know what Kyurem's ran, so the Kyurem was kind of a surprise to me. I wasn't too sure what they'd run, because I know they have really good attack or special attack, one or the other, but it could be kind of mixed. He has Tyranitar, and Tyranitar could run many sets. It could be Choice Banded, Assault Vest, Choice Scarf, so I had no idea what to expect from that. And I see a Lando T, and I haven't really faced many Lando Ts in 6th gen, so I don't know if they changed or anything from 5th gen, but I wasn't really prepared for that either. I decided to lead off with my Yan Mega because I see that none of his team would like to take an attack from my Yan Mega, and he decides to lead off with the Lando T. Not knowing what this Pokemon would run, I decided to go for the Air Slash, and I do unfortunately get the hacks. I don't know if it mattered too much or not in this battle, but I'm just gonna say it did matter. And after I see the leftovers, so I was kind of still curious on what he was running on here. This turn, my opponent decides to switch on to his Tyranitar, knowing that Air Slash would not be very effective against it, and I stay in and go for the Air Slash. And after seeing the damage it did, I thought that he might be Assault Vest, but I forgot throughout this battle that Sandstorm increases the special defense of rock Pokemon by 50%. This turn I switch out to my Gourgeist, knowing to take any physical move from this Tyranitar, and my opponent goes for the Stone Edge, which was the safe play on his part. And coming in, I frisk him and I see the Choice Scarf, which kind of hurt my head, because at this point I was wondering why my Air Slash did so little damage. I know my opponent has to switch out here since he is locked into Stone Edge, so I have the choice of either going for a Will-O-Wisp or a Leech Seed, and I decided to go for the Leech Seed just in case he would switch into his Conkeldurr. I did not want him to get the Guts boost, and on my part I did the right play and I get the Leech Seed up. Here I go for Protect, wanting to gain back some more HP and scout out what he'd like to do. I wasn't sure if he was going to go for the Knockoff or the Ice Punch, but I could see that he goes for the Knockoff. So this turn I decided to go for the Shadow Sneak, expecting him to go to Knockoff, and I don't want any of my Pokemon to lose their items, so I just stay in with my Gourgeist, and he does go for the Knockoff, which does, I'd say, more than 60% of my health before Leech Seed. Right over here I go for the Leech Seed just in case he would like to switch out, knowing I could take any one of his attacks just in case he didn't, and he goes for the Ice Punch, showing that he does have it on his set. This turn I expect my opponent to use another Ice Punch, so I switch out into my Arcanine so I could get the Intimidate off and resist the Ice Punch, but actually my opponent switches out into his Lucario. This turn I decide to go for a Flare Blitz, knowing nothing on his team could take one nicely, and my opponent switches out to his Tyranitar, which would be his only Pokemon that could resist it, but yet it still takes a lot of damage from it. This turn I decide to switch on to my Gourgeist, knowing that his Tyranitar could outspeed me and go for a Stone Edge or an Earthquake, but he goes for the proper play and goes for the Crunch and is able to KO my Gourgeist. And right over here, I don't know why I bring out my Yan Mega. The proper play would be to bring out my Arcanine, but I guess I forgot about the Sandstorm and I bring in a Yan Mega. Before I had to display, I actually had to run some damage calculations to see if I could live a Crunch, and I actually found that I could, so I stay in and go for the Air Slash, knowing that after this Tyranitar is KO'd, nothing on his team would like to take one nicely. My opponent decides to go out to Mega Lucario, which is probably the best thing he could have switched into. This turn I decided to go for the Air Slash, knowing I'd be able to outspeed him this turn, and hoping I'd be able to knock him out, but unfortunately he survives within the red, so less than 20%, and he is able to set up a nasty plot, which is very devastating to my team. I see no more point in using my Yan Mega, so I decide to fodder my Yan Mega and be able to bring in my Arcanine so that I could get an extreme speed off and knock out his Lucario. As I said, I bring in my Arcanine and use the extreme speed. Even though the attack is resisted, I'm able to KO him because of how low his HP was. But unfortunately he does bring out his Landorus, and his Landorus does have the Intimidate, which brings down my attack. This turn I decide to stay in and go for the extreme speed. I knew that I wouldn't be able to take out because of the attack fall from his Intimidate, and he goes off with the Earthquake, able to KO my Arcanine. I decided to go into my Reggie Ice, knowing I'd be able to take any hit coming off of this Landorus. This turn my opponent decides to go to U-turn, probably knowing that I would be able to survive any one of his attacks and kill him with my Regice. So he decides to go out to his Kieran Black, and I go for the Ice Beam, and it does a pretty considerable amount of damage since my Regice is modest and has an Assault Vest. This turn I decide to stay in, not knowing what he'd be able to use or run. He goes for the Earth Power, which doesn't do much damage since I am Assault Vest and I do have naturally high special defense. And he does get a special defense ball, but it doesn't matter. He loses some HP to Life Orb, and I go for the Ice Beam because I saw how much damage it did turn prior and it was pretty decent. This turn I actually go for the Charge Beam just to knock him out and get a special attack raise, but he goes for the Roost, and I really wasn't expecting that, mainly because I don't know what Kieran Black run, but I get the Charge Beam off and I do get the special attack increase. This turn my opponent decides to go in for the Fusion Bolt, and it does a considerable amount of damage to my Regice, but not enough to knock me out, and after the recoil damage and my special attack boost, I am able to knock him out with an Ice Beam. Right over here he decides to go into his Conkeldurr to face my Regice. The Mach Punch from this Conkeldurr is quite obvious, so I decide to switch out to my Banette, and since it is a Ghost type, his attack does not affect me. This turn I decide to Mega Evolve into Mega Banette and go for the knockoff, knowing that I'd be able to outspeed his Conkeldurr, and I was hoping for me to be able to knock him out, but unfortunately I don't, and my opponent goes for the knockoff, which is quite a lot of damage, is more than half. My opponent switches out here, I guess wanting to save his Conkeldurr for later in the battle, seeing as it might be a win condition for him, so he brings out his Mew and I go for the knockoff, which is able to bring him down under 20%. I go for the Prankster Taunt this turn, for I know that usually Mews carry status moves or utility moves, and I am correct while he goes for the Will-O-Wisp. I go for the Will-O-Wisp here, hoping to knock him out with residual damage, but unfortunately I miss and he goes for the Psychic, which leaves me with a sliver of health left. I wasn't too sure if I'd be able to outspeed the Mew, so I go for the safe Destiny Bond, knowing that he'd probably go for the Psychic once again, and I was correct, and we both do faint due to Destiny Bond. And now we have a blind switch in, and I felt at this point of the match was pretty much good game, because I did not feel I'd be able to sweep the rest of his team, so I just bring in my Regice while he brings in his Conkeldurr. The Mach Punch is imminent, and my Regice faints eventually, so I have to bring out my last Pokemon, which is the Porygon-Z, which fortunately does get the special attack boost, but as you see, this Conkeldurr does have the Mach Punch. In my mind, it was pretty much good game already, and he goes for the Mach Punch, and right over here, it actually surprised me that I was able to live the Mach Punch with 39 HP, and I go for the Psyshock. After Life Orb damage, I have 23 HP left, and he decides to bring in his Landorus, and right over here, once again, I thought it was a good game since Landorus actually has a base speed of 91, and Porygon-Z has a base speed of 90. To my surprise, I found out later that he was not actually running max speed on this Landorus, and I'm able to knock him out with the Ice Beam and live with 7 HP. This was a great battle. Thank you very much, PKWarbird. It was very intense to the last second with a sliver of health less. Thank you very much. Check out his channel. Unseen Hero here, signing off. Peace.